Your mind shapes your world. Today, we're digging into the hidden rules together, pushing the ultimate edge of waking up. Have you ever wondered why? No matter how hard you try, you keep tripping over your own feet just when success is within reach? Maybe it's that dream job you almost landed, only to bomb the interview with a silly mistake. Or that fitness goal you crushed for weeks, only to ditch it for a bag of chips and a Netflix binge. Here's the unsettling truth. The biggest obstacle to your success isn't your boss, your circumstances, or even bad luck. It's you. Your mind is quietly plotting against you, and you might not even see it happening. Today, we're diving deep into the brilliant, mind-bending psychology of Carl Jung to uncover why you sabotage yourself. And more importantly, how you can break free from this invisible trap. It may scare you, but it may also set you free. Ready to face the truth? Let's get started. Let me paint a picture for you, something I've lived through myself. A few years back, I decided to transform my health. I was disciplined, hitting the gym 5 days a week, cooking nutrient-packed meals, sleeping 8 hours a night. For 3 solid months, I was unstoppable. Friends started complimenting my glow. My doctor was impressed with my blood work, and my energy levels were through the roof. I felt like I cracked the code to a better life. Then, out of nowhere, it all unraveled. One skipped workout turned into a week of excuses. One cheat day spiraled into a daily ritual of junk food. Before I knew it, I was back to square one, wondering, what the hell just happened? Does that sound familiar? Maybe you started a passion project, only to abandon it halfway through. Or you build a great relationship, only to pick a fight over nothing and watch it crumble. Most people chalk this up to laziness, lack of willpower, or just life getting in the way. But Carl Jung, one of the sharpest minds in psychology, says that's too simple. He argues there's a hidden force at work, something inside you with its agenda. What could that be? Hold that thought. We're about to find out. Who is this guy Carl Jung, and why should you care what he thinks? Picture this. It's the early 20th century, and Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist, is working alongside Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. But Jung wasn't content with Freud's focus on repressed desires and childhood trauma. He broke away to explore something bigger. The unconscious mind, not just the personal baggage we carry, but a deeper layer he called the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience that shapes us all. Ever heard of terms like introvert, extrovert, or archetypes? That's Jung's legacy. He gave us a vocabulary to understand ourselves. But his real genius was this. He saw the unconscious not as a chaotic mess, but as a dynamic, purposeful system. It's not just a storage room for old memories. It's a living force that influences your decisions, your habits, and even your destiny. And when it comes to self-sabotage, Jung believed this hidden part of you isn't random. It's trying to tell you something. How does it do that? Let's peel back the layers. Let's define this beast called self-sabotage. It's not just failing. It's actively derailing yourself right when victory is in sight. Think about it. Procrastinating on a deadline until it's too late, starting an argument with someone you love for no good reason, or abandoning a goal just when it's starting to pay off. It's frustratingly predictable, yet baffling. Why do we do this? The surface answer might be stress, fear, or bad habits. But Jung flips that on its head with a counterintuitive twist. He says self-sabotage isn't a flaw. It's a defense mechanism. Your mind is guarding you from something. From what exactly? The clue lies in a concept he called the shadow. The shadow is like a secret basement in your psyche, stuffed with everything you've been taught to reject. Your anger, your ambition, your insecurities, even your wildest dreams. Maybe as a kid, you were told to be nice and buried your assertiveness. Or you were shamed for wanting more, so you hid your drive. Here's the catch. Those buried parts don't just sit quietly, they fester. And when you ignore them too long, they start pulling levers behind the scenes. How do they mess with you? That's where this gets interesting. Stay with me. So why does self-sabotage keep showing up in your life? Because your shadow is running the show from the shadows. Pun intended. Most people think the shadow is just the bad stuff, your flaws, your shame, your dark impulses. But Jung saw it differently. It's also your untapped power, the parts of you that could shine if you let them. He famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate." Let's break this down with some examples. Why do you procrastinate on that big project? Maybe your buried ambition is terrified of succeeding and the judgment that might follow. Why do you sabotage relationships? Perhaps your rejected vulnerability is scared of getting too close, so it pushes people away first. I've seen this in my own life. I'd avoid finishing creative work because deep down, my shadow feared rejection. Here's a question to chew on. What part of yourself have you locked away? And how is it fighting back right now? The shadow isn't just a saboteur, it's a signal. It's screaming for attention, and until you listen, it'll keep hitting the brakes on your progress. Want to know how it got this power? Let's go deeper. Ever notice how some of your self-sabotage feels oddly familiar? Like you're replaying a scene from your past? Jung had a name for this: the wounded inner child. Picture yourself as a kid. Maybe you were criticized for not being good enough, so you learned to doubt yourself. Or maybe you felt abandoned, so you built walls to protect your heart. Those early wounds don't just fade. They sink into your unconscious and start scripting your life. For me, it was a fear of failure drilled into me by a harsh teacher. Years later, I tanked project at the last minute, convinced I'd flop anyway. Sound crazy? It's not. Your inner child is still in there, replaying those old tapes, pushing people away before they can leave, or quitting goals before you can fail. But here's the wild part. Why does your psyche think this is helping you? Jung says it's about safety. That wounded kid doesn't want you to risk the pain again. So it sabotages you to keep you in a familiar, safe zone. The problem? That zone isn't growth. It's stagnation. How do we break this cycle? The answer is coming up. Now we're at the heart of it. Why does your mind keep doing this? Jung's take is mind-blowing. Self-sabotage isn't random chaos. It's a deliberate act of balance. Your psyche craves equilibrium. Push yourself too hard toward success, and it slams the brakes to force a rest. Get too full of yourself, and it trips you up to keep you humble. Jung called this enantiodromia, a fancy Greek word for when one extreme flips into its opposite. Think of it like a pendulum. Swing too far one way, and it swings back. When I wrecked my health streak, it wasn't laziness. My unconscious was yelling, "You're burning out. Slow down." Same with relationships. If I got too comfortable, I'd stir up drama to test the waters. Your sabotage isn't a glitch. It's a signal that something's out of whack. Maybe you're chasing goals that don't align with your true self, or ignoring emotions that need air. Jung believed this push-pull is your psyche's way of crying out for wholeness, not just success, but integration. So how do you stop fighting it and start working with it? That's where the real magic happens. Let's dive in. How do you break free from this sabotage loop? Jung's solution is simple but profound. Face your shadow head on. This isn't about beating it into submission. It's about listening to it. Start by asking yourself some tough questions. What am I ashamed of? What traits in others drive me nuts? Those answers point to what's hiding in your shadow. For me, journaling was a game changer. I noticed I procrastinate whenever I feared judgment. Turns out, my shadow was protecting me from criticism. Here's a practical exercise. Imagine your sabotage as a character. Is it a scared kid? A rebellious teen? What's it guarding? Talk to it in your mind. Ask what it needs. The goal isn't to banish it, but to integrate it. Turn buried anger into healthy assertiveness. Transform fear of failure into cautious courage. This takes time. Start small. Pick one pattern, like procrastination, and track it for a week. What triggers it? What's it hiding? Jung's big idea is that freedom comes from wholeness, not perfection. Want his ultimate tool to make this stick? It's coming up next. Don't miss it. Here's where Jung blows your mind. His secret weapon called active imagination. It's like a mental movie where you bring your shadow to life. Picture it as a person, give it a face, a voice, then talk to it. I tried this with my procrastination. I imagine it as a nervous kid clutching a shield. I asked, "Why are you stopping me?" It said, "I'm scared you'll fail and get hurt." So I promise it's safety. We'll take it slow, but we'll keep going. Sounds weird? It's not. Neuroscience backs this up. Engaging your unconscious like this rewires old patterns. It's not about force, it's about dialogue. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Your sabotage isn't a curse. It's a compass pointing to your real self. Once I started this, my health streak came back stronger, my projects finished, and my relationships deepened. This isn't just psychology. It's a path to transformation. Are you ready to walk it? Why keep battling yourself when you can make peace instead? If this hit you where it counts, drop a comment below. I'm facing my shadow. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more mind-expanding dives. And share this with someone stuck in their loop. Next time, we're unpacking Jung's archetypes, those universal patterns shaping your life. So tap the bell to stay in the loop. Jung once wrote, "Who looks inside awakes." Your awakening isn't some far-off dream. It's here, now, waiting for you to take the first step. So tell me, what's your shadow hiding and what are you going to do about it? Let's keep this journey going. See you in the next one.